Hi, my name is Cam Jenkins, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be there as part of the AGM today. However, I really wanted to be able to speak to everybody in regards to adapting through changes. I know for myself and for everybody during COVID, it's been very tough to be able to just have a different way of life and to be able to have some sort of normalcy through COVID. And I know for myself, it was very hard being in my apartment the entire time and being able to manage my mental health because I do have depression and anxiety. And during COVID, it was very hard to manage that. Saying that, it was really great to be able to have Hydrocephalus Canada because I participated in, a few of their groups. And it was really nice to be able to reach out to those groups and to be able to speak with a lot of the other people that were going through the same challenges that I was. So nice to be able to talk and kind of um, finding some what I would say similar experiences to be able to talk about it, to be able to make life a little bit easier through COVID. So, um, and I was off work due to depression and anxiety, and I worked a lot also with the Canadian Mental Health Association with a lot of, I would say, um, a lot of it is just kind of reshaping or reforming um, the way my brain works. So to give you an example is I would have to, I guess the buzzword is to reframe my thoughts. So instead of thinking that, oh, I'm going to get fired, I would have to fact check that. And I would have to say, okay, well, am I really going to get fired? Or is it just something that I made one mistake and I can't make a mountain out of a molehill? So, that was very hard to do during COVID, to be able to reshape my thoughts and to reframe my thoughts that I had, because I also wasn't able to go out into the real world and to be able to practice that, which made it even more challenging during COVID times. So I guess it came to a point where, COVID, it is starting to ease up and some people are able to get back to what I'll call back to a normal life, but I don't think it's ever going to be normal again. And I was able to go back to work. And I've gone back to work and I've been back to work for about, I'd say, 2 to 3 months now. And it certainly was a huge change because a lot of my depression and anxiety comes from making mistakes. And I'm very afraid of making mistakes. So, it was the start date changed a couple of times as well. So that brought on a lot of anxiety as well. And then finally the day came and I was able to go back to work. And it's really, especially with anxiety, it's that one thing that you have to do to be able to get over that hump. Because when you actually get to that day and everyone's happy to see you back and you're able to, kind of fit in like you did before and you're able to get work done. Um, that day was the hardest day for me to get through, but ever since then, it's been a lot easier to get through the days. And it wouldn't have been possible with the support of the managers that I have where I work as well. That's a huge positive there as well, because you do need that support. Being at, if you have anxiety and depression, whether it's from professional, help or from where you work, personal, your friends, your family, it all comes together in order to be able to help you to become a better version than you were, you know, uh, when you happen to end up getting a depression and anxiety. So, like I said, I've been back to work for a couple of months now, and it has been going very well, my transition back to work. Some of the cues that I have to try to manage my depression and anxiety is we had a back to work schedule. So I never looked at that back to work schedule until Sunday nights, because I didn't want to stress myself out of how many hours was I going to be working that week, or what was I going to be learning that week. So that was one of the ways that I was able to manage that. Another way that I'm able to manage my depression and anxiety is I'm able to, um, just fact check something. Is it true? I think a lot of people need to ask that question. Is it true? Because a lot of the times it's not true. Another one that I use quite often is catch it, check it, and change it. So when I got to catch my thought, I've got to check it to see if it's true. And then if it is true or if it's not true, then I just have to change the way I think, or I have to reframe how I'm thinking. So those are, I would say, some of the trips in not trips, although I would love to go away on a trip, but my tips and tricks in order to be able to manage my, um, anxiety and depression and going back to work. And with me, myself, I do have spina bifida and hydrocephalus. So I also do have, bowel management problems. So work was phenomenal in helping me in regards to that, where now I'm able to work from home 4 days a week and I go into the office 1 day a week. So that's, phenomenal that I'm able to do that, because it's a lot easier to be able to run to the bathroom when I'm, in my apartment compared to when I'm at the office and I have to go past the elevators down the hallway. Yeah, and that just makes it a lot more difficult. So I think finding an employer that is really wanting you to, um, if they really want you there are certainly are employers out there that will accommodate you in what you require and what you need to be able to work with you. I've always lived by, work hard and care about your work. And I think that's, how it's gotten me to where I am today, because I am a hard worker and I really do care. About the work that I do. So, yeah, I hope everyone is having a good AGM, and you're learning lots today. And if anybody, wants to get in touch with me to talk about either, how I deal with spina bifida and hydrocephalus and or anxiety and depression, I know that the facilitators of the AGM, they do have my details, so please feel free to reach out to them in order to, get in touch with me, because I really firmly believe that everybody needs to have a community, and that everybody really needs to talk about how they're feeling. Because in my opinion, it's not a good idea to keep things inside. And it's really good to have that sense of community, or to have somebody that is going through something similar to you, so you realize that you're not alone. So I wish everyone the best, and I hope that you're enjoying the conference.
So Cam, thanks so much for talking about your challenges and how you overcame some of your anxiety and depression. Can you tell us a bit about like the kind of things that you feel when you're feeling like an anxiety or a depression coming on?
Yeah, absolutely. For anxiety, it just happened yesterday actually, where I woke up and it was almost like the hair was sticking up on my entire body, or my bones were trying to get out of my skin. And just kind of the gut wrenching in the stomach as well. Those are kind of a couple of the signs for anxiety, at least for myself, that you know happen when I am starting to get anxiety in the worst case scenario. And I thought it was going to happen yesterday, however it didn't. But when I have an anxiety attack, my arms, they start to shake and I'm not able to control them. And that happens for, I would say, about 10 to 20 minutes approximately. Um, and so I just kind of have to use breathing techniques. It's called, what I use is the boxed breathing technique, where you breathe in for 4, you hold for 4, you breathe out for 4, and then you hold for 4. And that helps me to bring down the anxiety a lot of the times. Sometimes I just need a distraction. So maybe I'll call somebody or I'll talk to somebody on a Zoom to just talk to somebody so I can forget about my hands or my arms shaking, and I'm able to just concentrate on them, and I'll ask about their life, and that kind of helps me forget that I'm going through an anxiety attack. So that's one of the ways that I know that an anxiety attack is coming on. Depression, a lot of it's I just want to be in bed a lot of the time. I don't want to see or talk to my friends and family. So I'm quite distant when it comes to that as well. And there's just a lot of negative thoughts in my head when I'm going through a depressive episode. Kind of like I talked about before, the catch it, check it, change it technique. I try to use that in order to be able to get myself out of a depressive episode. Even if it's a 5-minute walk on my treadmill, that's another thing. Exercise, they say that helps with depression as well. But I think most of all, you just have to be kind to yourself and not beat yourself up. Because, like I said, a lot of the times for myself, it's because I feel like I make too many mistakes. Um, and that can very much bring me down. So I have to really think about whether I'm making those mistakes or if I'm the only one responsible for this mistakes being made. So it's a lot of soul searching for depression. Um, and I'd say exercise and of course trying to eat well is as well. um, to it's not just one thing, and sometimes something might work and another time something might not work as well. So as long as people understand that and don't beat themselves up that, oh well, this worked last time, why isn't it working this time? um, there's not one right mix for a lot of people that helps every single time. It's different things for different times.
Well, thank you so much for sharing such deep insights into how you deal with anxiety and depression. One thing I'm wondering, you mentioned that you've attended our support groups, and that's helped with some of the depression and anxiety. Um, have you seen like a professional for your depression?
Absolutely. I guess my journey with depression and anxiety started when I was working and I was having a lot of anxiety, and I ended up having to leave work. I first went to a lot of companies. If they're lucky enough, they have what's called an employee assistance plan or EAP. And so I went through that, and that was short-term counseling to try to yeah, to help me get better, to think about certain things. Unfortunately, at that point in time, I needed more of a long-term counseling because with short-term counseling, and this is only my opinion, um, they want to get to the core of it right away and try to fix it right away. And um, with long-term counseling, it's just a little bit more um, massaging, I guess is the best word that I can say, to still get you to realize things, but it's not the what I used to call the gut punch of trying to figure out life. And because it can be very hard when you're depressed and or have anxiety, and somebody just comes at you and you feel like you hit a brick wall. So that was the start of my journey. And then after I went there, I saw another psychologist, and just wasn't the right fit for me. So I ended up going to the Canadian Mental Health Association, wonderful organization that I've been going to for now past 2 and a bit years. And they have a lot of great counselors there, or people there to help with your mental health. They have a lot of groups for depression, anxiety, self-esteem, which I used to take all the time. I didn't realize how bad my self-esteem was until I started to take some of those groups. So yeah, anything to do with mental health, Canadian Mental Health Association is phenomenal. And then finally, insurance, because I was on long-term disability, they reached out to me, and um, I ended up speaking with them and working with a occupational therapist, a psychiatrist or psychologist. as well as somebody to, get me moving again, because especially, and it was a whole different, you know, bottle of wax because of um, the COVID-19. So
Yes.
I wasn't moving around as much as I was before. So it took me quite a while to kind of get my strength back into moving around, and I'm still there trying to get my strength back. So, but yeah, that was my journey as far as using some of the supports that are out there in the community for everyone. So, my biggest one is if you are having depression and or anxiety, reach out to your local Canadian Mental Health Association regional office and start the conversation there, or even more so, talk to your family doctor and get them to maybe also ask for, what supports are out there as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cam. If anyone has any further questions for Cam, we can take messages or questions and he will respond to them. Thanks so much and have a great day. Bye, everyone.